to A Well-Designed Business. My name is LuAnn Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company WindowWorks from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. Today I'm joined by Kylie Tyrrell, a seasoned Australian interior designer turned mentor and business coach for the industry. I met Kylie earlier this year through Instagram, and since then I've come to know a lot about her and her business. Kylie is passionate about helping you gain confidence and make money doing what you love. Her program is called Interiors Insider, and in this program, she supports and nurtures new and existing designers to thrive in their businesses. She is also the host of the podcast Interiors Insider, and I'm happy to say that I was on the show this past September 2023. We will link it in the show notes for you. And Kylie has a little gift for you in our box of money if you're attending LuAnn Live in November 2023, but I'll share a little bit more about that later. Let's welcome Kylie to the show. Hi, Kylie. Thanks so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business today.
Hi, LuAnn. Thank you for having me. I am very excited to be here with you today and talk all about mentoring and interior design in Australia and around the world.
I know. I'm so excited too. We have become good friends over these last several months after, I guess, what? Was it Instagram that you first messaged me and reached out to me, or was it by email? Do you even remember? I don't remember.
It was definitely Instagram. I had been listening to your podcast for some time, and then I thought I'd reach out on Instagram, and I was like, oh my God, she has actually answered me on Instagram. So I was really surprised, but so grateful that you did. It was amazing. Yeah, so it's been really good.
Yeah, no, I mean, you know what? It's just as we're going to say it here on air, interactions, conversations like that in DM, I'm all about it. But there's another level where others will come and they'll be like, hey, we'd like to do a collaboration, blah, blah. I'm like, take that to email, please. Please take that to email, right? Like, I'm not doing business on Instagram. I'm meeting people and communicating and talking with them. And for you and I, and I always say, you listen to the show. As soon as somebody messaged me on Instagram or whatever, or does a comment, then I'm over to your profile to look to see who you are and what. I was like, oh, Kylie's a designer who has a podcast, who's now a business coach for interior designers. I'm like, yes, I want to talk with Kylie. So then I come back to the DM, right?
It's so good. I think I have so many conversations in DMs. Like Instagram has been such an amazing tool for, collaborating, meeting, and just expanding the network. And I find it really amazing tool for our business.
Yeah. So remind me, how many, you had you're not currently doing interior design. You're just recently transitioning out of that, or do you still do a little of both at this point?
I
don't
am
remember.
Still doing a little bit of design work. I've probably been 99% out of it for about 2.5 years. And I'm just finishing off some jobs. So, the ones that go on forever. So we'll finish that off. And then now I actually, if I do get inquiries, I usually pass them on to members in the group. So it works out really well. So the leads that I still get go into the group. And I have a few of the ladies in there that actually take them on for me. And it works out really well for them as well because they get new leads and new jobs to go on with too. So I just found that I had to decide what I was doing. I was either going to go full into this, into mentoring and coaching, or I could try and juggle both. But, I've got 3 teenagers at home and life's busy, and I really wanted to give this. I just wanted to give it a red hot go. To be honest, I just wanted to really. I'm
Nice.
really passionate about it, and I just thought, I need to give it my all and see if this works, and see what I can do to, change things up in our industry a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the thing. So now that brings us to some of the things because we said we would have a little conversation about what you're finding is similar because you have been listening to my podcast for
Yeah.
years. So you really have your, sense of what's happening here. I mean, it's mostly, US, North America centric, the podcast, most of the guests. I'm starting to thankfully, get some international guests, which I'm really excited
Yeah.
about. But you really are hearing what's happening with us. And then you've got this experience of being a designer in Australia and now mentoring and coaching other designers. So, what are you seeing as some of the standout differences in the way the two industries function within the country and maybe first, how about the perception from the country to the industry? Are there differences that you think that happen here in the US versus Australia, Kylie?
I think from what I can gather, I think Australia is probably the design world probably isn't obviously as big, but there's more solopreneurs, I would say, in Australia than there seems to be overseas. There seems to be bigger teams doing, full service design work. Whereas I think in Australia, designers usually focus on either procuring furniture or selecting finishes. So there's a little bit of a difference there. They're definitely not as big, but I would say that maybe we're moving more towards the American market in terms of doing, setting up our processes and systems. Definitely. I think that that's becoming more and more important. I think it's definitely becoming a more seriously looked at industry. So we're really definitely moving away from that hobby, side hustle mentality, and it's definitely now being looked at as a serious career path. And
Let me ask you about that. Hang on
yeah,
right there. So, do you think that that is something that is happening mostly from consumers, or do you think designers themselves are also starting to say, hey, this is a serious career path and not a hobby, and I can make a business out of it? Or do you think designers kind of got that, and it's consumers that need the change of perspective?
I think it's the industry lifting as a whole, really. I think it's the designers lifting that, particularly, the ones that are doing really well. They want to be recognized. They want this to be known as a profession. And I think we as designers probably need to educate the consumer more about it, about what we do, what we charge, why they need to engage us. And I think that that's definitely, a change that I've seen in the industry. And it's definitely driven by the designer, I would say, more than the consumer. And
Mm.
maybe also what's really played a part in that too is some of the TV shows that have been on, like The Block in Australia, that really have given us a little bit more exposure in terms of what we do, but also, we've had to come in and tell them that this really isn't always the reality.
Is it
Yeah,
real
it's not
life?
real life and how it actually works.
This reality show is not
Yeah, and I
reality.
think the other thing is, I think there's just so much more information available. People are listening to your podcast, they're hearing that. I now have a podcast. There's so much more information out there. And I guess part of even the mentorship is really me explaining to new designers. And I have to say, most of them are career change women that come in. So they have
Mm.
have already had a path somewhere else. That, gone are the days where you can get by and do this job on a DIY logo and, slap together an Instagram page. This is actually a business. And I mean, some of them do come into the mentorship. They're like, I really did not realize there was so much involved in actually doing this. Um, So yeah, I think it's education, and I think it's time, and just more information being available will help us evolve, and raise the standard, really, I think, which will be amazing. That's what we need to do. We need to raise the standard, tell our audience, our consumers, what we do and how we do it and why they need to have us. Yeah.
Yes, I agree. It's funny because as we're recording, I was in High Point
Okay.
recently, and I just, we came to a point in a discussion, a panel that I was moderating about that, how like the question was centering around how you express to consumer who wants to do it their way or wants you to change a part of the process, or just isn't playing by the rules,
Yeah.
right? And the thing was, the core of the answer to that is when you're so clear on your process, you won't allow someone to change the rules. But to your point, when you have yet to get to that point where you yourself as a designer are aware that this is how it needs to go because I've got it so clearly mapped out, you do sometimes do it one way and then you do it another way. And then, yeah, if the client wants to do it that way, you'll do it that way. And this is not a sustainable business model, is
No.
it, Kylie? I mean, that what you're, teaching is the same. It's like you've got to stand firm and figure out your way. It can be different than your colleague's way, but it has to be a way. Do you
Yeah,
agree?
definitely. And I think, a lot of the women that I work with, they come in and all they really want is clients. They just want clients. How am I going to get a client? How am I going to get clients? And then we put all the steps in place and then they get clients. But if they don't have a system and process to manage those clients, they go into overwhelm. And then I find that the business just falls apart and then they start, it
Mhm.
starts getting a little bit out of control. So I'll definitely, my message to them, and I know that you have this same message, is, to get that repeatable service offering to be able to grow and expand and scale, you need to be able to be automated and have a set process for every single client. Yeah, no matter how many you're dealing with, 1 or 10 or 20, whatever that
Right.
is. I think that that's a really big eye opener for a lot of designers. And yeah, I think more and more are starting to put those automations in place. We use Dubsado a lot over here. Do you use Dubsado
Mhm.
in America?
I've had a few designers mention it here or there. Of course, a lot of the designers that I work with use my Doma
My Doma,
Studio,
yeah.
you
Okay.
know, for a lot. But then what we've also been discovering over the last several months on the podcast, Kylie, in various discussions, talking with different project managers from different design firms and operations managers from the different design firms is, we're really, and I'm on this bandwagon now, coming away from having a requirement of any one software being the end
Yes,
all
I
be all,
agree.
right? It's like, okay, if Dubsado is going to do these things and MyDoma is going to do these things and QuickBook is going to do these things,
Yeah.
great,
Yeah.
right? It's like you don't just eat Italian food.
Yes.
Sometimes you have Italian, sometimes you don't. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like it's it's crazy because I think I was in that trap, and I know a lot of us in whatever business we're in, whether it's window treatments or interior design, we're looking for that unicorn. And
It's
it's
not
like,
there.
what area of our business, right? Like you could have a convertible, but if you're going to move and your house from one, you're going to move houses, you're not going to be like, well, let's get the convertible and move all the furniture. No, you go and get a truck for that.
Yeah.
Like get the thing for the
Yeah.
thing, right?
Yeah. I think we're realizing that too. And I think designers are as well, because, you know, not only is there so much on offer, but you've got to
Yeah.
choose what actually works for you as a person, as a
Your
designer. Yes.
personality,
And what
right?
works for
Yes.
me may not work for the person, the designer next door. So, yeah, I think as designers, take advantage of those free trials. And yes, it takes time and effort to go through and do them and learn them, but you'll get a feel for which system works best for you and that you actually can actually work with and help you. Because I guess at the end of the day, it's all about the system helping you run your business more efficiently. So if you
Right.
download the system and
Exactly.
don't use it, it's no use.
Well, it's like buying a gym membership and
Yeah,
never going.
exactly. Yeah, and I feel that
You're not going to build any muscle if you don't
no,
go.
and I think that's what happens. I think we start using some, and we find that there's a bit of a discourse and it's not working for us. So then we feel like
It's
it
hard.
gets too hard and it's time consuming. So yeah, I think we're lucky, aren't we? We've got so many available to us in this day and age. We've got so many that we can choose
Yeah.
from. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think just the awareness, putting that out there to designers, telling them what's available, let them choose, and telling them that there isn't one right way or wrong way. Just do what works for
Right.
you and your business and the way you want to run it, I guess is
The thing is, the message is do
yes.
something, right? It's like do whatever you want, but do something. And the thing is, I know you know this too. I'm just going to emphasize it here for a minute. Is when you want to grow and scale, increasing your efficiency by creating duplicatable processes is imperative because you can't train and onboard without it. But I know that we both agree it's as important if I want to be a solopreneur and I have no desire to grow a team because I am managing outside people and clients. I'm communicating and interacting with trades, even though they might not be my
Mm.
employees. And unless I want to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning every night and double check that I told the wallpaper what direction the wallpaper goes, if I don't have a system for doing that, I am consistently going to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning with all of this nonsense on my
Yeah,
brain,
it's too
right?
much to hold in your own head. You need to get it out, and you need to have,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the more you can automate, I think, really leads to, us not going into burnout as designers, particularly when
Yeah.
you're a one-man band, because that's what happens. You go into overwhelm, which ultimately can lead to burnout. Um,
Right. And the thing is, when you talk about automation, I believe because I've gotten to know you and I know that your philosophy around coaching and so forth, we're not just talking about software automation. We're talking about automation in that the way you do a project, you do it the same way every time, whether that's every time you have a discovery call or every time you close a deal and you take the money. It's like we're not just talking about the digital automation. We're talking about that duplicatable process from A to Z in the firm, right,
yeah, and
Kylie?
it's like the duck on top of the water. Like, at the top of the water, it looks like it's just cruising along, but underneath there's all these other steps that are going on. So the client doesn't need to see all of that work, but the
Right.
designer needs to have that, mapped out so they can follow that process every time and have that, beautiful onboarding, offboarding scenario with their clients so that they become raving fans, that they
Yeah.
decide that that's the main thing that they get to get more clients, I guess. It helps them along the way. So yeah, it's so important. I think more and more designers in Australia, back to your point, are definitely recognizing that. And as I think as the profession lifts and we get more and more women and men doing it, the better it will become. Because I think it was a time there where I don't know if it was the same in the US, but this was a job that you almost bought your own job in this industry. That
Right. That's exactly it. You just like have a
yeah,
job instead of a business that
makes money.
creates wealth,
Yes.
right?
And I'm constantly saying to the women in the group, we are allowed to make money. You should be making money in these jobs, and it's okay to make money. We're not if you wanted to buy your job, you could go and work for someone down the road and have not be waking up at 2 a.m. and having all this stress. So
And no shame in that. No shame
no,
in that. Like every good firm needs those talented, skilled people that want to come in and do A+ work and go home at the end of the
yeah,
day. We need
yeah,
those people,
definitely.
right?
And it's definitely not
Yeah.
for everyone. This isn't for everyone. I get that too. But I usually find the ones that are really passionate, have a passion, have the business side covered. Usually, you're 80% of the way there if you can do that. If you've got the passion, the creative skill, and the business side, yeah,
Mm.
it's an amazing combination. And the beautiful thing is when they come from other careers, if they're career changing, they usually have some sort of past experience that holds them in good stead for the journey, I think. And not always know
100%.
that at the start what it might be, but you work it out, particularly the business side, negotiating, whatever, it'll come through as you work through and, set up your own business. So, yeah.
It's so true. We call them here our Erica Ward transferable
Ah,
skills.
yes. Yeah.
Erica Ward was on the podcast, I want to say way back, episode 6 or 9 or 16. I don't know what it was in the beginning. And she was the one who identified that. She said, if you're coming from another career, there are things that you've done in that career that when you think about it will serve you well as an interior designer. And I love that you said that, Kylie, because that is what
Mm.
happens. Often we don't know what those skills are that are going to serve us well, but they do eventually surface. And then when we recognize it and lean into it, it really can be one of the impactful or game changer, aspects of our
Yes.
success,
And even
right?
being a mum, juggling all those balls of being a mother is really, one of the most amazing skills that you will gain, that yeah, you'll learn to juggle many balls. And that's really what this job is, isn't it? You're wearing many hats, I think.
Yeah.
And I don't
Yeah.
know if there's any other profession where you wear so many hats. Really.
Oh gosh, I'm telling you, couldn't pay me to be a designer. All the money in the world. There's not a
Mm,
chance. There's not a
yeah.
chance. There's
That's
not
why
a
the
chance. It's
passion
too
has to
many
shine through
details.
because otherwise
That's right.
people don't last
No,
unless you're really
no, you're
passionate
right.
about it. So yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So when the designers come to work with you, obviously it's well, I just said obviously, but I'm making an assumption. It's virtual, right? It's not you're not meeting in person, or are you? Like in other words, a US designer who's like, I'm loving Kylie and now she's going to listen to your podcast or he's going to listen to your podcast. You know, is it virtual or is it in person in
all
Australia?
of the mentor program, mainly it's all virtual. If you're in the state and you're here, then there will be some meetups that we might do. Like you have got High Point. We have different things that we do in Australia.
Okay.
We might meet up, but predominantly I run it all virtually, so it's all done via Zoom, and it works really well. There's a private membership group, and yeah, I think we currently have 90, close to 100 members.
Wow,
Yeah, thank you.
congratulations.
My aim is to get 200 members by the middle of next year. Yeah,
Wow.
so I'm aiming high. I've got to 100 in 2 years, and that's not counting the amount of people that have gone through the mentorship. So usually the mentorship is a 3-month intensive, and they go through that in obviously 12 weeks. And then I run the membership, which is 12 months inside with a group, and you just allows you to network and keep learning. We're learning about AI. We're just learning about all the things that change along the way, and keep you updated and make sure that you're, you know, I guess at the peak or at the optimum that you can work at. I guess, yeah.
Right.
So
Right.
it's a great community. The community is beautiful. There's women and men in there. So yeah, it's just a really lovely space for sharing. I mean, all of the members share. That's been a really big transition, I think, too, in Australia, is that, getting people to open up and share their information.
Mm,
And not because a lot of the time they don't want to share. I think sometimes it's because they don't have the time to share.
right.
They get so busy and building their businesses, and they become,
Mhm.
they do all the hard yards, and they become quite protective of their business that they've built. Um, and I
Yeah.
do understand that, but I think as a profession, we definitely are sharing more. We're collaborating more, and you can find out more information. I mean, when I started 15 years ago, it was really hard to get any information at all.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
so it has changed a lot in the 15 years, and yeah, now there's more people than ever sharing. And podcasts are amazing, aren't they? You get
Yes.
to connect.
Well, you know what? It's like you can't grow if you don't know.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, like if you don't know another way of doing it, then are doomed to either keep doing what you're doing, whether it's working for you or not, or you're reinventing the wheel and making it take 10 times longer. So by collaborating and talking and doing all the things, you cut to the head of the line. You know
Yeah.
what I
I
mean?
really wish sometimes the more experienced designers actually would be open to not changing, but open to doing things differently. I think because they've done it one way, I think sometimes they may not have a system and process in place. Their business might be going.
Oh, I noticed that with seasoned
Yeah,
designers
seasoned
too. Oh,
designers
yeah.
sometimes are a little bit more stubborn, and they're a little bit less likely to share. But I think if they just opened themselves up to learning new processes and ways of doing things, who knows? They could, I don't know, take many hours off their plate, or just find this whole other world exists. So yeah, I think if I could change one thing in the industry, it would be that the seasoned designers would be a little bit more open to just seeing what's possible, what's out there. Yeah, I think that's an interesting slant and something that I'm slowly trying to chip away at in Australia.
I love it. I've had seasoned designers come up to me and say, you know, I'm listening to your podcast and it's 3 or 4 years now. And I finally, whatever, fill it in the blank. I finally hired a consultant. I finally this or I finally that. And I can think of one person in particular that said to me, I almost did it as much like kind of like not spiteful, but just like, is this really going to change anything? Am I really going to? And she was like, she said to me, she goes, I am making 25% more income than I ever made in all these years. And she said, and I made a decent income. And I've also claimed back so
Time.
much of my
Yeah.
time. And I'm not getting the 3 o'clock in the morning, crazy, bolt out of bed
Yeah.
moments. And she just looked at me and she said, any one of those would have been a positive change in my business. All three of them, she said, at 25 years in to experience that, I never in my wildest dreams expected it.
That just reminds me, LuAnn, I sell a template in Australia for a pricing and services guide. So it's an industry guide to pricing. So whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced, and it gives you a guideline as to what the pricing is in the industry. I had one lady who emailed me after purchasing it. It's like $47 Australian. It's cheap. And she purchased it. She'd been in the business for 25 years. And she said, I cannot believe I have been underselling myself all this time. She said, I have just raised my
Yes.
prices. Like, I put it onto my Instagram stories. I was like, 25 years. And that's not the only person that gives me that feedback. They're like, oh
That's right.
my gosh, this happens quite regularly. No one shared
Yeah.
their pricing. So how was I ever to know?
How would she
Yeah.
know? Right. It's like, it's how do you know? I mean, it's crazy, right? And it is just a matter of being part of a community that's willing to talk and share and learn what you didn't know you never
Yeah.
did knew, right?
And how can you
Um
expect to know
so
everything? You cannot. No one
no,
knows everything.
right. 100%,
Mm.
100%, right? So if someone's listening, what is the so we I understand. I was just going to say, what is the someone should say to themselves, if I'm this, then I'm a good candidate for working with your group, right? And I get it. We've got seasoned designers, we have newer designers. It's not the number of years in business, but like, I know that you are a process driven person. I know that you're on a mission to help the designers lock their processes down. Is it that because some coaches, I think all coaches with a brain in their head are believe that,
Mhm.
right? But it doesn't mean they're going to teach it. Like, I believe it and I speak it from the high heavens, but I'm not going to get in the weeds with you and build your process, right? That's why I invented LuAnn University. So I can, there's places for
Yeah.
you to go and
Yeah.
learn it. So what is coaching with you like, Kylie?
Yes.
Is
Okay.
it top level visionary? Is it strategy? Or is it, no, 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 we get in the weeds. And if you need a process for understanding how to utilize MyDoma in your business or Dubsado in your business, we're going to walk through that. Like how is the coaching done for
For
you?
me, the coaching really is about making them a professional identity. So, what I really want to do is I want to get in and I want to teach them how to market themselves, how to set the business up in terms of the basics. But no, I'm not going to set their systems and processes up for them. They will definitely know when they've got to do that. I'm going to help them get their services in place, what they want to offer, who they're going to target,
Oh,
what they're going to offer, how
that's
they're going to
good.
price it, what their mindset needs to be, how they need to be showing up in terms of lifting their confidence, and just getting their mindset around that business side. And then the next step for them is to network in the group and then, put in the systems and processes. So we give them the tools, I guess. We give them the what they need to do, and then they need to then implement whatever systems and processes they want to use. But firstly, they're coming in, and I'm teaching them how to get up and running. And a lot of the time they'll say to me in the mentorship, I just don't know where to start. So they've graduated from design
Mm,
school, they just don't know how to get that first client. So I'm really teaching them
okay.
how to market themselves and how to get themselves out there and what they need to do as a base minimum to it's beautiful because what happens is I see them blossom. I see their confidence
Mm,
come through. The more knowledge they get, the more confidence they get, and then I see them blossoming and having this real belief in themselves. So I'm like their
mm.
pep up girl too, I guess in some ways. I love that part. I love nurturing them through the process and just supporting them and giving them the confidence to move forward.
Mm.
And 3 months is really great. You can achieve quite a bit in that time. But the 12-month membership afterwards just keeps that going, keeps them on track. Because I find 3 months, it's just not long enough to actually keep that
Mm.
momentum and that accountability going.
Mm.
So the two programs I really run side by side, and they're really a beautiful connection to both. Yeah, and that's that.
But you have the option. You can do the 3-month and stop if
Yeah,
you want. It's your choice to
yeah.
continue, right? You just see the value when
Yeah,
they do,
they
right?
they make deeper connections because they start off in a smaller group, which they really love. It's like a nice little cohort, and then they go into the bigger group and can collaborate. They get buddies, so they might end up with a BFF, design BFF that they can meet up with. I try and get them in the same state so they can meet up. Um, so yeah, it's really about creating a network for them as well and giving them just the
Mhm.
knowledge to succeed and the
Yeah.
belief that
Yeah.
they can actually do
Right.
this. Yeah, so it's
Right.
a feel
Right.
good job. It's
Right.
a really feel good. Something that I wished when I was a career change mum had been made available to me. Um,
Right, right, right. We build what we wish we could
Yeah,
have
and I
had,
think
right?
that's what I've done. This is exactly what I would have jumped into this group. I would just been like, yes, give me all the information, show me all the
Yeah.
people, and yeah, it would have been absolutely amazing. And I guess I built it.
Thinking about
Sorry,
that.
yeah, go.
Oh. Yeah, go ahead. No, go
Um,
right ahead. Go ahead.
I guess I built it because I was tired of looking for it. I couldn't find it.
Right.
So I
Right.
was just like, I tried BNI groups and I tried so many different networking groups and I just couldn't. I realized that it needed to be in the same career, like it needed to be in the industry.
Yes.
And the
Yes.
beautiful thing about our group too is that, we have lighting consultants that are in there. We have color
Mm.
consultants, there might be paint, anything to do with interiors, they welcome into the group.
Mm.
So yeah, it's amazing.
That's nice. Thinking about how this was the group you wish was available, can you identify or recall any like hard lessons that you learned as a designer that like that stick with you? I mean, I just feel like we all have those things where we're like, that happening, that going through that was the line in the sand moment where I was like, okay, I know I have to now make a change. I have to do the next thing in my business, whatever it was. Like, because we can tell everybody and their brother, you need to have a process in your and a system in place. You need to be able to bring your clients through a duplicatable journey. But I feel like until we've really dropped the ball, it's hard to actually, because it is so hard to stop and rejigger and create this new thing, because you'd like take 2 steps back to go forward. And so most of us do have these come to Jesus
Mm.
memories of things that, happen. Anything that comes to mind for you?
I think as a whole, in general, I think, you know, you don't start out confident. There is a lot of fear that comes up, but the way that what I've learned over time is sometimes you have to step through that fear, and that, action builds confidence. And I know that, that might sound a little bit cliche, but you have to move through the fear. And we all have fear. I can remember knocking on doors for the first time and doing consults and just being like, oh my God, what am I going to be saying in here? Who am I going to be meeting? Are they going to think I'm an imposter? And, obviously they all went really well. But on the other side of that door, I was petrified and I was scared and I thought I wouldn't be able to do what I did. But the more I did it, the more confidence I built, and the more, the client probably never knew any of that, even in the
Right,
very
right, right, right,
beginning.
right.
But I think the more you do something, the more repetition will help you move through that fear and build your confidence. And the other thing that I think is really important for designers is it's okay to pivot. I have pivoted my business so many times. I've tried things and they haven't worked. And, I don't
Mm,
get hung up on things that don't work anymore. I really go, okay, that didn't work. What can I tweak? Or how can I change? Or if something's no longer serving me and I don't enjoy it anymore, then it's okay to pivot. It's okay to move in a different direction. And no one's going to think anything of it or anything less of you. And in fact, it just helps build your character and builds your portfolio and your experiences. So, I love pivoting. For me, I get bored very quickly. I love to be learning all the time. I love to, have my brains always working. So, if I could say to any designers, like, sometimes I think that they think there's one way to do something and that they've got to go all in this and follow one particular process. The biggest thing I say to them is, you set this business up to please you, not to please anyone
right.
else. You set it up to please you and do what you want to do, and that is okay. Like, that's a big
Yeah.
empowering for them when they find that out, because they think that they have to do it how Sally does it, Sally the designer down the road does it. I mean, that's the beauty of
Mm-hmm.
our industry. You can set your business up however you like and offer whatever you like. It doesn't matter as long as
Mm-hmm.
you're providing your client with what they want. Um,
Right,
yeah,
right.
so I think that,
It's funny because to that point, I've often mentioned on the podcast over the years that there's a designer here in New Jersey who has a strictly consultation
yep,
model. Everything she does, she exchanges time for money.
yep.
So, it's a strictly by the hour. And if she's picking window treatments for you with, Window Works, then she's charging you by the hour to do it. If, she orders all the furniture, retail practically, you know what I mean? I don't, she might have some custom upholstered pieces made here and there, but not to the level that, she could if she wanted to. And basically, she is set up how much she wants to earn in a year, how much she wants to clear, and she builds her number of hours that she works in a week to support that. And the thing about what it is she never leaves it to chance.
Mm,
That's the different part about it. So I've mentioned before on the podcast, when back in the day when I would be on a measure with her, it might be a Thursday afternoon and we're measuring one room or, a whole house, it doesn't matter. She would be managing the appointment and walking us through and making the decisions with me based on what we're going to do and blah, blah, blah. And she never left, very rarely would leave that appointment without the follow-up appointment scheduled. So she'd look at me and she'd say, "LuAnn, when do you think you can get this price to us?" And if it was one window, I'd be like, "Oh, I can have it to you by tomorrow, end of day." If it was a whole house, I might say, "Oh, I can have it to you by next Tuesday or next Wednesday," or whatever
Yeah.
it was. And then she would look at her client and she'd say, "Oh, that's great. So LuAnn will have the information for us, by Tuesday of next week. Let's get our calendars out." And she'd say, "So on Wednesday, I can come at 11 or I can come at 1." And the thing is that she knew exactly what she was doing. And yes, we could have put her in touch with 1,000 people that could have explained. She could have bought wholesale furniture. That's why she could get that course at LuAnn University, buy wholesale furniture for profit, right? She could do 1,000 things. And so to your point, though, is just because somebody's doing it a certain way, or maybe you're doing it this way, like if you don't like doing pain consultations anymore, then don't
Mm,
do them. Or if you do like doing them because you can make 350 on a single pain consultation and be done with it, then do
yeah.
it. Right? Like I love that philosophy that you
Yeah.
have. Like do what works for
Yeah,
you,
and
right?
reverse engineer your income, and that's the beauty. I think that's part of the reason why I love the industry so much is as I started when I had three babies at home, and I've been able to expand and contract my business as I've needed to run around the family. And I work with some women as well here in Australia where they just run a consultation model via Zoom. And, it started here, it's ended up here, and it works perfectly for their lifestyle. And that's the beauty of it, isn't it? As long as you're making money, yes, at the end of the day, if you're doing what you love and you're making money, that's the key. You've got to, because so many of us
Yeah.
are doing what we love, maybe, but not making money. So it's so
Right.
important.
And the thing is, that's where the community and the mentorship comes in, because maybe you do want to learn how to buy furniture wholesale, but you are doing a consultative model and you don't know how to get out of it. You don't know how to break the
Yeah,
cycle of it, right? Or vice versa. And it's like until you get out of your box and figure out what to do and what that there's other ways to do it, how do you know if the way you're doing it is the best way for
yeah.
you,
You
right?
can't know, can you? And when you've got like what's that saying? Many heads or many minds make light work, or many hands make light work.
Many hands make
Yeah,
light
I
work.
think
Yeah.
that's the same. Like we can be really, yeah, we're better together. We are so much better
Yeah.
together. And that's not from, competition or, we just need to be open to sharing so that we all can run our businesses better and make more
Yeah. Yeah.
money at the end of
Definitely.
the day.
So the thing is, back to your mentorship and your membership programs, Kylie, what I understand is you can join your membership anytime you want. And your membership, like you're listening to the podcast today, you're falling in love with Kylie, you go listen to her podcast, you're like, that's it. And you have resources and I guess scheduled meetings and so forth that you can take advantage of immediately. But the mentorship cohort is something that starts on a specific
Yeah.
schedule because you start a group of designers that go for 12 weeks. And as we're recording, your next launch for the mentorship cohort is going to be you're going to open registration in December of 2023. Am I understanding things
Yes, so we'll
correctly?
pre-sell December 2023 for a late January, February start, because I find that most people, like to have that Christmas holiday period. So they usually sell out before we get to 2024, the new year. So we usually sell out in pre-sale, and then we actually start at the end of January. So yeah.
Okay. And it sounds like there's only limited seats. You're not just
So we do
unlimited.
20 in each round. And depending on how many we do, I don't like the cohort to be more than 20, but I do usually run two side by side. So,
Okay.
so some more can come in, but I keep each cohort to 20, so that they get really familiar and they start to make connections in that group. And then they have the option to go into the bigger group when they're finished.
I love it. I love it. And if I don't want to wait, if I hear this podcast in November, I can join the membership now and still join the cohort for the mentorship and start that in the beginning Q1 of
Yep. And the
2024.
membership has all of the details of the mentorship in there. You just digest it. It's all pre-recorded. You just digest it at your own pace and at your own leisure when it suits you. So you get all of that information as well. You step through that through live recording. So it's got so much amazing background information that'll help you in your business. So yeah.
That's terrific. I love all that.
Thanks.
So, thinking about, your journey from being an interior designer to now helping others become profitable interior designers. Is there any final thought or question that you're thinking, oh my goodness, I didn't mention this, or I didn't talk about that, or anything that's on your mind that you'd like to share, Kylie?
I think for me, if I could say one thing to someone who's out there listening and they're considering starting, or, they're scared to invest in themselves, that it's not as scary as you think. And, you will have the support that you need, but it really is hard to do this on your own. So if you have this passion, then life's short. Explore the passion. And if it doesn't work, it's okay. And if it works, amazing. Like, how amazing is that if you get to explore this passion and it absolutely works? And yeah, just take the leap, new year. It's the perfect time to be thinking about it. It's a brand new year we're starting. If you had these same thoughts this time last year and you've done nothing this year, then I really encourage you to do something about it this year.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Thank you.
Because we do know when we've been sitting on something, troubled by it, wishing it could be different, wanting it to be different, and not knowing how to make the first step to making it different. And sometimes you just have to do the leap,
You have
like
to
you said.
invest, and you have to have the faith that it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of
I
10,
love it.
I can tell you it's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
gonna
it
be okay.
works.
Exactly.
It's okay.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, if you're going to be at LuAnn Live, now we wanted Kylie to come, but she's from Australia and she can't make it this year. She has a legitimate conflict of her schedule, but we're going to keep her in mind to come next year. But even though Kylie herself is not coming to LuAnn Live this year, Kylie does have a gift in our box of money for you if you want to be a part of her next membership cohort. So if you are going to be at LuAnn Live, then I encourage you to make sure you check out the box of money. And the box of money is something that every single person that comes to LuAnn Live gets. And it is filled with all of the things from all the beautiful consultants and coaches and, softwares and things that we have in this industry to help you make your business more profitable. So, Kylie, I can't wait until we actually meet in real life one day.
Hopefully
I'm
it's
sure
next
we'll have
year.
talked many times. Yes, I do
Yeah.
too. I do too. And I was on your podcast, and we'll put the link for that in the show notes and share that with everybody.
Yes.
And of course, the link for Kylie's membership and everything will be in the show notes as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much, LuAnn. You're amazing. You're an inspiration to everyone here in Australia, and in particularly me. I really look up to you, and just thank you so much for sharing and taking the time to talk and reply to my DMs. It's beautiful. Thank you. I appreciate you so much.
Well, it's my pleasure, and I'm so grateful that it's created a friendship between us. So I really do appreciate it and value you. So thank you, Kylie, for being here today.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Kylie is a fantastic lady, isn't she? We just hit it off right away from the beginning and through the conversation I had on her podcast, and then, of course, continuing here. What I love about her is it's clear the passion she has. She is definitely a been there, done that woman, right? She's done what you've done and you are doing, and she understands, where it's hard, and it's her mission to help you get past that. She is interested in helping you build your confidence, in creating your professional identity, and in providing for you that solid support system so that you can get to the next level, whatever that means for you in your business. All right. She wants you to take action. She wants you to invest in yourself, and she wants you to move forward with your dreams. And I love all of these things about Kylie. So we do have that offer in the box of money from Kylie, $500 off the mentorship 3-month intensive, which the gates for that are going to be opening in December 2023. And as she mentioned, the cohort will start in January, February 2024. So if you're not sure what I'm talking about, if you are joining us at LuAnn Live this November in Orlando, it's a minute from now, okay? You can still come. It's luannlive.com. Go ahead and register. But every single person that comes to LuAnn Live is getting this box of money, which contains a treasure trove of gift cards. Right now, a value of more than $12,000 in that box of money. Way more than what your ticket price and even your airfare and hotel will cost. I promise, right? So thank you, Kylie, for joining me today. I'm so glad that we got to know each other. I'm sure we'll collaborate again as the days and weeks and months go on. And thank you for joining me today. I do appreciate that you show up. Decide to be excellent. Thank you for joining me today. This podcast is a production of LuAnn Nigara, Inc. If you want to know more about me, my books, or LuAnn University, go to LuAnnNigara.com. And if you are interested in having WindowWorks help you with your next window treatment or awning project in the New York, New Jersey metro area, go to WindowWorksNJ.com to learn more. Have an excellent day.